is streaming, okay?
All right, sounds good. All
Tragic
right.
news today with Mitch LaFon. There's Mitch. There's Mitch.
Hello. Good day.
I know you can't actually see yourself, Mitch, but the audio is in, and we have your little icon, Mitch. Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
Yes, over at Podcast One, part of the Jericho Network. Always important to to throw that in there.
That's right. So,
Yep.
today on the show, very tragic, very tragic. The one, the only Malcolm Young has passed
Hmm.
away. We knew it was coming, right? I
Hmm.
mean, 3 years of dementia, which
Yep.
which I know that you and your family, you've seen it. I've seen it in my family, and a lot of people have been in touch with it. You can't escape dementia. Tragic, tragic. I mean, a co-founder of ACDC, part of the Young Brothers, passed away. We don't know what time. I guess we're assuming it was November 18th, which is today, but in Australia time, which could have been like 10 hours ago. Mitch, what did you hear like right away? What was the first bit of news that you heard?
Well, simply put, I follow a lot of the different medias, and one of the bigger Australian newspapers reported it, and it said that he passed away peacefully, and it just struck me because every day I do these on these days posts, and I just put up, hey, on this day Kirk Hammett was born, and hey, on this day, and literally as I was doing that, this icon appeared saying Malcolm's dead, and I was like, damn it. And I didn't. It's almost like I'm putting out these sort of frivolous
Yeah.
posts, and then you get this serious news. And as you said, my dad has dementia, and he's going through it. We're going through it right now, and it's brutal, man. It's just rough to not. In my case, I go see my dad, and he's like, "Well, who the hell are you?" And it's like, wow, that's tough. So I can imagine that it must have been absolutely devastating for the band when they got the news of the dementia, and now that they've gotten the news of his passing. I mean, here's a guy who helped create songs like Back in Black, Highway to Hell, You Shook Me All Night Long. I mean, any more iconic songs in this world you cannot think of. I mean, this guy helped pen some of the biggest tracks in rock. Forget metal, rock. And it's a tragic day to see him go.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking back. We're going back all the way down from, I guess, what year we're talking here. We're talking about like 1974, when I guess the band first, called themselves ACDC, right? The two
Yeah.
brothers decided to start a band. They've written the songs together as brothers, and of course with Bon Scott and Brian Johnson. Of course from their brother, their older brother, the Easy Beat, right? The Easy Beats. Malcolm Young has been, and it's strange, like a lot of people don't give him enough credit sometimes. He was the leader of the band. Everybody sees Angus Young as the sort of the figurehead of the band, but it was
Yeah.
actually Malcolm Young who was actually forging ahead, making the tough decisions, making the tough calls, saying we're gonna stick to our guns. We're not gonna sort of become that hair metal band. We're just gonna play the tunes as we've always been playing them. He stuck to his guns, and he was always the leader. I mean, of course, Angus, a big part of it, but he was always the leader, making the big decisions. What do you say to that, Mitch?
Yeah, I agree with that. And in fact, in September of 2014, when the news came out that he had dementia, I was convinced that ACDC was finished. I figured, okay, here their de facto leader is off to the side, won't be able to participate. The band is done. It was kind of surprising to see Angus go on with the brand, but you know, uh, what are you gonna do? It's a shame. And Dave Mustaine famously said years ago that he considered Malcolm Young to be the premier rhythm guitarist in all of rock and metal, along with himself and James Hetfield. But good on Malcolm for having given us this band and seen it through and stayed on message. They never sold out, which is a term that metalheads love to use, but they never went for the easy hair metal videos, and they never went for the grunge look, and they just stayed being AC/DC. And how many albums are we into now? Like 20 or so.
Oh yeah, so many, so many, so
So,
many.
so yeah, and it's just been, I don't want to say the same sound over and over again, but it's been their sound over and over again. They didn't have an AOR guy change them. And I think Malcolm and, of course, Angus were instrumental in sort of keeping that focus and keeping the band where they should be.
Agreed, agreed. I mean, their first album, I'm lifting it up right here, High Voltage, which was not really the exact, this was sort of the North American version of it, a combination of their first two albums, right? And I guess this was released in North America. This is the version of it with Angus and the lightning bolt right across. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. The riffs, I mean, unforgettable riffs from the Jack to Livewire, rock and roll singer, of course, TNT, which, if you remember in Montreal, Canada, TNT, as soon as I guess Bon Scott died, then it was just played forever. I mean, on radio. What do you say about High Voltage? One of your favorite albums?
Well, it depends. Are we talking the Australian version or
We're
the
talking about the
international?
North American. Let's talk about the North American version.
Well, listen, you've got a song like the Jack on there. Like, does it get much better than the Jack?
No,
I
it
mean, it
doesn't
really
get.
doesn't. And
It was a Jack.
and it's a long way to the top. Pardon me?
It was a. She's got the Jack.
The Jag, that's right. Yeah, and it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. I mean, just iconic songs, and you know, and she's got balls. I mean, you know, little tongue in cheek in there, but no, it's one of the greatest albums. You know, and I'm just thinking about this. You could probably say that for every ACDC album. You're going to say, well, what about this album? You know, Back in Black. And it's going to be, well, it's one of the greatest albums in rock, you know. And that's what's so amazing about ACDC is that they're continuously strong. Even their worst album is better than a lot of people's best albums. And the only band that I think that's had the sort of same level of success all the way through is Iron Maiden. It's just unbelievable that since 1974 they haven't really put out a dud. You know, some people will.
Well, I mean, later on, I guess there was a couple of duds here and there, right? But in the early years, I mean, the Bon Scott era, to me, there are no duds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's Angus and Malcolm. They are the backbone. They are the creative force behind, all the great. And again, look, I guess after 20 something albums, I mean, there's just so many riffs you can play, right? Without sort of copying yourself in a sense, right?
Well, yeah, and that's what that's what they mastered. The I don't want to say the sort of three riff song, but that's sort of what they built their entire career on, is just saying very, very simple, very to the message. There was no, they didn't get into loops and big symphonic productions. They just stuck to, here's a drum, here's a bass, here's a couple of guitars and a vocal, and off we go. I mean, look at the album that came out right after, Dirty Deeds.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all those songs, Angus Young, Bon Scott, Malcolm Young, they wrote them together. And again, just hit after hit after hit.
Exactly.
Dirty Deeds done. I mean, every time you think of a song, and again, I'm going to keep repeating myself, but you just think of these songs and you go, yep, that's in the top 100 songs of all time. Yep, that's like Dirty Deeds, definitely in the top 100 songs of all time, and Whole Lotta Rosie, and Back in Black, and Highway to Hell, and You Shook Me All Night. I mean,
it's incredible. It's
incredible. Yeah, and would you agree that Iron Maiden is sort of the only band that's had a consistent career along with them? Because listen, Metallica has put out a few duds, Megadeth have put out a few duds, Kiss have certainly put out a few duds. Iron Maiden, AC/DC have always delivered quality albums, just quality. And Malcolm has a lot to do with that.
He's like the Steve Harris of Iron Maiden, right? He's the driving force. I mean, he's the glue, we'll call it. And it's unfortunate. I don't know what's going to happen, what the future holds for AC/DC. But just so everybody knows exactly what happened. So I would assume, like last night for us in North America, which is early morning in Australia, at 64 years old, Malcolm Young, co-founder and guitarist of AC/DC, has died. In case some of you do not know what's going on. So it's November 8th. At the age of 64, he's had dementia for 3 years. We just briefly spoke about that. I know people are joining in.
Let me just correct you. You said November 8th, November
18th. 18th. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm getting old.
And it's early morning here in
morning.
Montreal.
That's right. So November 18th, he's died. Him and his brother co-founded the band in 1973. And I'm trying to see if there's any sort of comment by Angus. Angus Young added, his brother, it is hard to express in any words what he has meant to me during my life. The bond we had was unique and very special. He leaves behind an enormous legacy that will live on forever. Malcolm, job well done. And you can see that Malcolm and Angus, being the younger of the brothers, you know, were more close. You know, they're closer, as their other brothers were a lot older, right? They were closer. They grew up together. They, you know, if you go on YouTube and watch them as a young band in ACDC, you could see that the little brothers they're small little guys too, and they just, you know, there was a sort of bond that was unbreakable between them, musically and of course personally. Just incredible. Some other albums I'm just gonna pop up here is ACDC Powerage, and actually maybe I should read some comments here because I get a lot of comments. So you ready for this, Mitch? A lot of people are typing.
Very much ready.
A lot of people are
by
typing.
the way, I just wanted to say, I've seen comments, by the way, from other rock stars and other celebrities on Twitter and Instagram and other places this morning.
Yes, yes.
And it's amazing, like Ryan Adams, the whatever country star I guess he is. It just shows the power of ACDC, that it's not just your Dave Mustaines and your James Hetfields and your Paul Stanleys that are paying homage. It's people from across the musical spectrum. And that's just how big ACDC was. They were one of these everybody likes them kind of band. And those are hard to find.
It's true. Yeah, mainstream, we'll call it. So here are some comments. I'm going to read some comments that people have expressed, fans will call it, okay? And I know a lot of people are jumping on and watching the show right now. Sydney saying, rest in peace, Malcolm Young. Aaron saying, I found out on Twitter through a tweet posted by Ronnie Wood. There you go, to your point, Ronnie Wood, right? Aaron, and this is a month almost after George Young's passing. Another good point, right? His brother, George Young. Colin, 64, is no age, irrespective if you're a rock star or not. No, 64 is, I guess if you're our age, relatively young, right?
Well, yeah, it doesn't give me a lot of time left, you know. And while you're reading that, I just this one just popped up on my screen. David Coverdale just put up, our thoughts and prayers are with his family, friends, and fans. Great guy, a pleasure to know. Truly missed. That from David Coverdale.
And so, Mitch, if you see any more celebrities, just tweet or post something, please read them out loud.
Listen, I've got him right here. Charlie Benante, of course, of Anthrax. While most of the world goes on with the day, many of us are mourning the loss of the great Malcolm Young. I can't tell you how much joy he and ACDC have brought me. This is a legend, a real legend. Let's all remember him not just today, but every day. Malcolm rules. Paul Stanley, of course, Kiss. The driving engine of ACDC has died, a tragic end for a sometimes unsung hero or icon, one of the true greats. Michael Sweet, a striper, so sorry to hear about the passing of Malcolm Young. I grew up on ACDC and always admire his playing. Rip and Godspeed. And it just goes on and on here. Let me see if I can find Tom Morello.
Oh, Tom Morello, yes.
Rest in rock powers, ACDC, Malcolm Young, #1 greatest rhythm guitarist in the entire history of rock and roll. Thank you for everything. The Dropkick Murphys, you see, there we go. Totally across the board here. We are deeply saddened to have heard the news of the passing of Malcolm Young from ACDC. Malcolm was the heart and soul of ACDC, as fine as an example as any to rhythm guitarists everywhere, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just going to keep scrolling down here.
Hang on, let me read some fan comments here as you find some other comments. Bottle Tulip, depressing news to wake up. Lefteris says it was the riff machine behind ACDC and a great influence for a lot of metal bands. He was a true legend of rock. Gary Morgan, when I was in an old cover band, ACDC songs were quick to learn and always went down the best. And Iron Hammer, I remember when I went to Black Sabbath last year and they were playing only ACDC songs in the background before the show. Keep going. And Jack. Go ahead. Go.
Brian Adams. Canadian rock star Brian Adams. Rip Malcolm Young. Your guitar playing was a huge inspiration. Thanks for that. So there you go, Brian Adams. You see, I mean, it's just all over the place. People just love this band. They love, here, Derek Sherinian, Rip Malcolm Young, a very important musician who helps shape the genre of hard rock. I mean, it's just moment after moment here. Twitter is just lighting up with everybody paying tribute to Malcolm, as of course it should, because he was, of course, one of the greatest. And let me see if I can find another.
Here, let me read another fan here. And it's good. We're reading out the comments from the fans and from the artists. I like this. Jackson, well, Malcolm, you made us proud. You never forget. Ren is saying, I'm sure Angus is still ready to rock. Okay, that's just maybe I don't know. I guess he's ready to rock. I don't know, I guess. Sean, yep, I don't see them last long now with Malcolm Young dead and Angus Young now trying out Guns and Noises or Roses or something like that. I don't know. What is the future live for AC/DC? I mean, can Angus Young and Axl Rose pull this off? I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be good, but I don't know if it's gonna be AC/DC. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, before I answer that, just quickly, Chris Jericho, of course, the Jericho Network, which I'm part of, just wrote, there's no debate that Malcolm Young was the greatest rhythm guitar player and riff writer ever. So there you go, from the boss, Chris Jericho. But can they survive? Yeah, I do believe. I do believe they can. You look at examples of Kiss and of Quiet Riot and Foreigner and band after band. You know, and people hate that I say this, but brand is bigger than band. And AC/DC, if they come out and they put together a competent album, or even if they just tour and do the greatest hits, and whether it's Axl singing or not, if it's done well, people are going to listen. People want to hear those songs. You know, that's the thing about music, is that the songs themselves never die, and we're all at some point going to pass on, and those songs that were part of our youth are going to be, you know, the Back in Black is going to be here in 100 years. You and I won't be, and so, you know,
well, I was hoping to live forever, but I guess you just, you know, like you screw that up. Thanks a lot, bitch.
Screw that up. No, but you know, the point being that the songs are going to live on, and I think if Angus gets out there and does them justice, which is the important thing, not just show up and do karaoke versions, but does them justice.
Yeah.
Fans will show up because fans want to hear those songs together in a 2-hour presentation in a venue and just get their yayas out. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And you know,
hey Mitch, here's another one. All right. Iced Earth. Rest in peace, Malcolm Young. You will never be forgotten. Courtesy of Iced Earth, of course. Michael Sweet. So sorry to hear about the passing of Malcolm Young. I grew up on AC/DC and always admired his playing. Rest in peace and Godspeed, my friend. Sydney says Malcolm was the engineer who made AC/DC run. Aaron saying the band is now Axl, Angus, Stevie, and Chris Slade, I guess, from what you just said. The comments are just coming in. I mean, like you said, everyone is getting their sort of, overkill. Malcolm this one is dedicated to you. And it's actually Overkill on their Facebook page saying Dirty Deeds, you know, playing Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap. And oh wow, it's exploding right now. It's just exploding. Everyone's talking about it. Here's another one, Powerage. What'd you think about Powerage as an album? Let's just talk, you know, I guess this was their third album. Let's see, in North America, that is, I think it was their third one. Was it the third one? Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But Powerage, what'd you think of Powerage as an album? Your thoughts?
Another solid album, and you know, you just have to look at the song Riff Raff. That's it, Riff Raff.
I love Riff Raff.
I mean, right? And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that was one of the exciting things about having Axl Rose join the band, is that they threw that back in the set after being absent for like, it hadn't been in the set for like, 30 years or something, and then here it was. You see, again, it's just one of those, every album you're going to pick out one or two songs and you just know that they stand the test of time. I mean, this came out in what, 78?
75, 78, who knows, around there.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about songs that are 40 years old and it still gets people excited. I mean,
78, yes, you are correct. 78, yeah.
And there's nothing I did 40 years ago that gets anybody excited. So, right? So that's power. There you go. So, you know, Down Payment, Rock and Roll Damnation. There you go.
That's an incredible song. Here it is. Here's another one I'm holding up. It's Highway to Hell. I mean, their breakthrough into North America, we'll say, album. You know, it was a little more polished. You know, songs like Highway to Hell, Girls Got With a Rhythm, Walk All Over You. Still maintaining that AC/DC sound, but a little more polished on the guitars and the vocals, you know. It's just a courtesy of Mutt Lange, right? Just another great Shot Down in Flames. If You Want Blood, You Got It. Night Prowler, with all the controversy regarding that. And then, you know, tragically, Bon Scott dies, right? Your thoughts on Highway to Hell?
You know,
What can you say about
it,
right? Whoops,
it's going to be the same for every single. I mean, listen, I first got into ACDC, of course, with Back in Black, but I mean, when you look at a song,
that was more our age group.
Yeah, but Highway to Hell, that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just another one.
The riff.
Yeah. You know, it just goes. But in fact, this is what I want to throw at you, because we're talking about the old albums, but how about the last one that he had?
Yeah, I got it here somewhere.
Hand in Black Ice.
Where is it? No, that wasn't Black Ice. Black Ice wasn't the last one. It was Rock or Bust. And I'm finding it here.
But Malcolm wasn't very much involved on Rock and Bust, was he?
Agreed. You're right. Rock or Bust, he was not involved at all, or very, very little. He was, I think, jamming out the tunes. But you're right. Black Ice, an incredible album. What an incredible return. And I'm holding it up as we speak. So Black Ice. And I mean, Brian Johnson never sounded better. The riffs never sounded better. Fresh. It could, you know, I mean, it could have happened right after For Those About to Rock. We salute you, right?
But look at this here. Look at the charts on this thing. #1 in Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, Greece, Hungary, Italy. Like, it's just, here's a band 40 years into their career, and they had a #1 album on the U.S. Billboard. Just the quality, you know, look at most bands that are 40 years in. Their albums get nowhere near a chart. And in fact, their albums don't even get near like 5,000 in sales. And here's a band that just delivered a very simple message. And some people are going to argue that simple is probably the wrong term, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's just, and I don't want to say a formula, but it's like, here's a song, here's a riff, here's a great vocal, next. And they didn't deviate from that. And 40 years later, still #1. All over the world, not just in Australia, not just in, you know, some county, but all over the world. And Black Ice, man. But I don't know if you saw that tour, the Black Ice tour.
No, I didn't.
Wow. Well, then again, like their albums, anytime you talk about a tour, you probably could sit here and go, wow, phenomenal. So, you know, we'll see. Let's see what happens with Axl, and let's see what happens with the band. Hopefully, out of this tragedy, maybe the band can sort of reconvene some of the guys and go through the vaults and give us some stuff that's been unreleased, or live versions of albums, and let's just, you know, celebrate
Mitch,
Malcolm through new music.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I want you to read some more comments from celebrities. I'm going to read some more comments from the fans, because they're like flooding me right now. I'm just getting flooded here and I can't read everything. Donnie Van Stavern from R.I.P. For those of us you rocked, we salute you. That's his tribute. If you find any more, just please.
Oh, I've got one, and I've got the ultimate one. I think, in fact,
I'm going to stop. Read it, and I'll read mine.
I'm going to stop on this one because after this guy, in terms of guitarist, there's no point.
Okay, go.
Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, Eddie.
3 minutes ago, just put up, "It's a sad day in rock and roll. Malcolm Young was my friend and the heart and soul of ACDC. I had some of the best times of my life with him on our 1984 European tour.
Yep.
He will be missed, and my deepest condolences to his family, bandmates, and friends." Yeah, beautiful. I mean, after hearing from Eddie Van Halen talk about guitarist, I mean, where else do you go from there, right?
You go to the fans. Here's some more fans.
Yeah.
Again, these are weird names, right? Because these are, you know, YouTube names. Dak Tract seemed like there was some riffs in Rock or Bust that sounded like Malcolm made. Yeah, I think there probably was. Black Ice, I have it. Let There Be Rock, Anything Goes, my favorite song of all time. These are names, Let There Be Rock. So we got a whole bunch of AC/DC fans jumping on. You see anybody else?
In terms of famous rock stars, hold on, let me do a
refresher. No, Nick Bocott from Grim Reaper for "He Who Truly Rocked." We salute you and thank you. Rest in peace, Malcolm Young. Where else? Oh my God, I just got all kinds from every feed imaginable.
I'm trying to see here what I've got in terms of new ones here. Winger had just put one, but now it disappeared. Well, here, since we talked about it before, Ryan Adams, a non-rock star, said, "Real Malcolm Young legend. He was the founding member of ACDC and the engine that roared behind the most powerful band in the world. He wrote Back in Black, Highway to Hell, You Shook Me All Night Long, so many songs. Travel Safely to the Stars, Malcolm, Legend by, that's Ryan Adams.
Right, not Bryan Adams.
Ryan.
That's Ryan Adams.
What do we consider Ryan Adams? Is he a country star?
I don't know. I don't really follow Ryan Adams, but some nice words. I don't know. A rock, I guess. Rock. So here we go. Rock. Here we go. We have the real Francesco saying, I think AC/DC, despite their popularity they gained, their songs were all true. We're still true and rising from their hearts. True rock and roll. What else we got? I got tons. I just can't read everything at one shot. So, I mean, you have Rudy Sarzo. You have everyone. Where's the Rudy Sarzo one?
Here's one that I find interesting because not only did he affect rock and across the spectrum of different music, but the Wall Street Journal just put up a statement says that Malcolm Young, the rhythm guitarist and guiding force behind the Australian hard rock band AC/DC, has died peacefully with his family by his side. I mean, when the Wall Street Journal is reporting on rock stars,
yes,
you know, that's the power of AC/DC, because, you know, the Wall Street Journal doesn't, you know, when Blabbermouth or Brave Words or you and I talk about a rock star, that makes sense. But the Wall Street Journal doesn't normally get into that, and so that's the power of AC/DC and Malcolm and Angus and all of them.
Yep. Here, let me throw another one at you. Now, this one you can't see, but it's Back in Black. I mean, this is probably the album, just like you. It came out in 1980, 81, and it was, you know, it exploded. I mean, probably one of the best-selling albums of all time, let alone a great-selling album, right? I mean, globally. I mean, from every, you know, to every genre of music, AC/DC Back in Black. Everyone's got a copy of the LP, the cassette, the CD, the download. They've got it all, right? And this is the one, the only. There's not every song on this album is like stellar. I mean, from Hell's Bells to You Shoot to Thrill to What Do You Do for Money to Back in Black.
Come on, it's a greatest hits. And here's a fun little fact about that album.
Yeah.
It came out on July 25th, 1980. And that was the night that I saw Kiss at the Palladium in New York City with Eric Carr's debut. So that was a double dose of greatness that day. I got to see Eric Carr play for Kiss for the first time, and one of the greatest albums of all time came out that day. So there you go. That's my fun connection to that album. And yeah, listen, it was I'm trying to think. I believe my brother gave it to me on my birthday, and it was just like, yep, okay. I got this. This works for me, and that was sort of the introduction to AC/DC. You know, I missed them in the 70s. Unfortunately, I had to go back and learn the catalog after.
We were young too. Keep in mind, we were young, right?
Well, listen, yeah. In July, listen, Back in Black, July 25th, 19. I was 11 when that came out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you talk
perspective,
you have to put it in perspective. So when you talk about High Voltage and Dirty Deeds, I was like 7, 8, right? Yeah. So nobody was listening. I was.
It was Kiss. It was all Kiss. Dressing up as Kiss on Halloween.
Even Kiss came a little later. I mean, I got into Kiss around 77, 78. Yeah. So I mean, it was like Beethoven and ABBA.
Yeah. But here, Chris Tsangarides, you know, the famous producer. He writes, a very, very sad news. Heartfelt condolences to all the Young family. Rest in peace, Malcolm. For me, AC/DC was just like you. It was in 1980. And, you know, of course, it was played all over the radio. It was probably the biggest rock band at the time. And from there, all the back catalog exploded, right? I mean, because, you know, that album was so big that everybody got so interested in the back catalog. I remember going to, I don't know, maybe it was Zellers, I can't remember where it was, and just seeing, you know, Back in Black back right next to Dirty Deeds, because the Dirty Deeds album started exploding as well, right? And it was just an amazing thing. And then the album that was really just as big, maybe not as big, but For Those About to Rock, We Salute You, right? Again, you know, produced by Mutt Lange, For Those About to Rock, Put the Finger on You, Let's Get It Up, Inject the Venom, and Evil Walks. Thoughts on For Those About to Rock? What do you remember when it came out?
For Those About to Rock?
Yeah, We Salute You.
For Those About to Rock. You know what? I gotta say, and this might sound bad, but I remember thinking at the time, wow, it's not as good as Back in Black. And you look at it now, 40 years later or 36 years later, whatever, and you go, well, that was a stupid thought to have.
Well, yeah, of course.
But when it came out, I went, oh, well, this is no Back in Black. But again, for those about to rock, that one song,
Yeah.
absolutely essential in the history of rock. But it's funny that was my first reaction. I was like, yeah, this is no Back in Black, but 36 years later, what a stupid comment, right? By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
Mike Portnoy
Portnoy
of Sons of Apollo, formerly of Dream Theater and all that, just wrote, wow, just got off stage here in Brisbane, Australia, of all places, to the shocking news of Malcolm Young's passing. So sad, one of the great rhythm guitar players of all time, James Hetfield and Scott Ian would be the first to say so themselves. R.I.P. Malcolm Young.
Yeah, that's yeah. Oh, I mean, and it's to your point. I mean, this is not only the hard rock community, the metal community. This is on a mass scale. Like Billboard magazine, I just saw they wrote something, and you're talking about, like, I'm sure it's gonna hit, like the Gazette and the mainstream media, right? It goes beyond just the metal community, the rock community. It just into the masses, right? The next album to come out was, and again, we're just talking quickly, Flick of the Switch. And at the time, I was like, oh, wait a second. This is not for those about to rock. This is not like Back in Black. And like you, only years later did I get to appreciate the rawness, the power of this album. Maybe they were, I don't know, overexposed at the time. Maybe there was just too much AC/DC going on. So many albums just flooding the market. Thoughts on Flick of the Switch? And I love the album cover, by the way. I'm holding it up.
Yeah, it's a great looking album cover. I gotta say, that period of AC/DC, great, again, looking back on it, but at the time I had started moving into, the Def Leppard Pyromania era. I started moving into the Dio era. I had started moving into, I got back to Kiss. I had left Kiss for a while. Animalize had come out not the year before. So I sort of missed that one, but... you look at a song, and don't ask me why, but Bedlam in Belgium.
I love that song.
Isn't that great?
It's a great song. It's a great song. So underappreciated. And to me, I love Rising Power. I love the song for A Nervous Shakedown. Like, only today do I just love that track. And Guns for Hire. Of course, Bedlam in Belgium. It is just, wow, it's just great. Just great. Go ahead.
But it is, though, one that I had to rediscover, like in the mid-90s kind of thing, because I just, as the sort of hair metal and much music had come on, I got distracted by other bands, and AC/DC, in a sense, is sort of like, your comfortable shoes or your old jeans. You always get back to them, but once in a while you want to put on a new pair. And so I sort of missed it at the time. But man, Bedlam in Belgium, there's a song. B&B, that's a song for you.
Yeah, and then after that was what was the Sink the Pink? What was it called? Fly on the Wall, right? Fly on the Wall, was that right after it? I can't remember.
Fly on the Wall came right after.
I mean, a couple, we're into hair metal years, and I don't have it in front of me. I do have it somewhere in my house, but I don't have it in front of me. Fly on the Wall, a couple of, Sink the Pink, which I loved. And then the movie came out. Remember the movie afterwards, which was Maximum Overdrive? Was that it? With Who Made Who? Who Made Who? Who Made Who? The song Who Made Who? The single.
Yeah, that was right. That was in Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive, right. And again, they're kind of losing their popularity. The album wasn't as strong. A lot of people argue it is, but to me, the production wasn't there for Fly on the Wall.
Right, and just remember, again, like I said, there was just so much else going on at the time. All those bands, your Quiet Riots, your Def Leppards, your all those bands were exploding and sort of taking away the attention from your comfortable pair of old jeans, right?
That's right.
And for me, the song that I got drawn to was First Blood, mostly because, the Rambo movie had come out a few years earlier. And so First Blood, just like, oh, is this a Rambo song? And that's where I went with it. I mean, of course, it's not a Rambo song, but that's why I got drawn to it, just out of curiosity to check out if that's what it was. But, not their strongest album by far. And again, just by 85, so many other great bands and great music, and Ozzy was going, and
Yep.
yeah, it got lost in the mix, but thank God for the 90s.
And you well then well
I'm
hold on a
gonna tell you,
second. Then you had one more sort of a dipper of an album,
yeah,
Blow
but
Up Your Video, which there was some cool songs on that album, but overall it wasn't ACDC at their best, right? 1988. Um, the
no.
song, Heat Seeker, which I loved, and That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll. And yeah, the album was so-so, probably not one of their strongest.
No, definitely not one of their strongest, but hey, kissing dynamite, why not? I mean,
Yeah,
hey, let's go.
that's right.
But I'll just say this about these albums, and I'll finish the thought that I had started.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank God for the 1990s. The music in the 90s, and people are going to hate me for saying this, was so incredibly awful. All those stupid ass grunge bands, that it gave me a chance to go rediscover, like, as I had run out of Def Leppard and Kiss and Bon Jovi and Metallica to listen to, I started saying, well, what am I going to listen to now? And so I went back and started
There you
going
go.
back
Yeah, that's it.
over the AC/DCs and maybe even some of the Judas Priest that I had unfortunately ignored or just not given enough attention to. And so, thank you 1990s for making it my AC/DC decade.
And here's the big one, okay? The Razor's Edge. Now, suddenly, they're kind of like dipping for so many years, and right out of nowhere in 1990 comes and this explodes. They are back on top of the world, thunderstruck. You go to any comedy club, you go to any concert, the opening of sort of those songs that they play before any sort of major event. Could be boxing, it could be hockey,
Anything. I've heard it at
anything.
football stadiums and
That's right.
hockey
You will
arenas
hear
all the
this.
time.
Thunderstruck is just as big as You Shook Me All Night Long. They are back once again on top of the world. The Razor's Edge. Thoughts about this album quickly? I know, look, I mean, we should have stopped this about 10 minutes ago, but I figure,
Yeah.
What the heck? Let's just go
Let's
through
keep
this.
going. You know what? I'll say this again, a great album, and Thunderstruck. I'm curious to know, out of all the bands that get played in arenas and stadiums around the world, AC/DC has got to be like number one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
whenever you go see a football game, NFL or NHL or even minor leagues and stuff, there's an AC/DC song played. That and like Welcome to the Jungle seem to be like those bands that just are always played. They must be number one in like arena rock.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I mean,
Which, by the way, is why Guns N' Roses or Axl and AC/DC together is like the best of arena rock combined in one.
Yeah.
And by arena rock, I don't mean the genre. I mean really like in an arena, the rock that's played in an arena. So great bands, great stuff.
band. So, and then after that, I mean, The Razor's Edge, which was just incredible. I mean, you have Ballbreaker. I don't have it in front of me, but Ballbreaker. And I got to also throw out something else that was released maybe in the late 80s. It was like the 74 Jailbreak with the song Jailbreak, which was released back in the day, but in North America it was sort of like a new release. An incredible song with Bon Scott. The song itself, Jailbreak, was just, and still played today in their shows. It's just, what a song. Incredible music, and, loved it. But then you had, again, just going chronologically, Ballbreaker, Stiff Upper Lip, which I have here. Again, kind of like a few hits on the album, but the rest kind of seem like filler, like they're kind of losing steam. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that pretty much summed it up. It seemed, but you know what? Again, you look at everybody come that time in their career, which is 2000. A lot of those bands had sort of run out of steam. Def Leppard had been running out of steam. Metallica had run out of steam, and so there sort of was this ennui with all these bands. But they got over it. And the good thing about this album, though, is the deluxe edition that has, of course, the live cuts, from Madrid.
Yeah.
So if you're going to run out and buy this album, or if you're going to go play it today, go play the deluxe edition and basically play the the live in Madrid cuts on there, because those are the greatest. I just want to say one thing. The song "Whole Lotta Rosie."
Oh, jeez.
Which was a bonus track on this album, but just in general, that has got to be. Isn't that one of the greatest songs ever? And of course, Malcolm was involved in writing that. And I'm going to argue that is the best AC/DC song. I love that. And Guns N' Roses did a
And
version
let
years
me
ago.
just pause you right there. And what's
Yeah.
great about Whole Lotta Rosie, and let me find it here on the live album. If you want Blood, you got it. Let me just pull it out here. Okay, so I want to show everybody. What's amazing about the song and what makes it one of the best is the chanting. You know, dun 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 dun, and then Angus. It just the arena or this, you know, wherever they're playing explodes. It's just this chant that will.
Yeah.
It's just the riff to the song, to the lyrics, to just the electricity of the song itself. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and if you can, Guns N' Roses put out a single, "Welcome to My Jungle," years ago, and Whole Lotta Rosie live by Guns N' Roses, the original 5,
Yeah.
was the B-side. And as they get into it, you hear the crowd go na 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 Angus na na na, and that Guns N' Roses. Now, I'm not going to say it's better than the AC/DC version. That would just be blasphemy. But that is such a fun version, and that's why when AC/DC announced Axl, I thought back to 1987 because I had bought that single and I went, yep, if it's anything like what was on that single, this is going to be awesome. And so Whole Lotta Rosie by AC/DC, probably their greatest song, and one of the greatest covers ever is the Guns N' Roses version, the live version.
I would agree with you, man. That is an incredible version. I heard that back in the day. It was on a bootleg when it originally came out. I can't remember where it was. But I just want to read some more comments from the fans. Carissa says, rest in peace, Mal. Rock in peace. Thanks for everything. Guy says, thank you for creating AC/DC. Malcolm Young, we love you. Tom says, Rose is a dirt... Oh, I'm not going to read that. And Florian says, thank you, Malcolm. Ray Andrew says, one of the best songwriters. Gary, I remember buying Big Gun on a single when that Arnie film came out. I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, here's another thing. So now you're talking about mainstream news. CBSnews.com has just posted, the passing. Malcolm Young, AC/DC guitarist and co-founder, dead at 64. This is global news all around. So that CBS News has just posted that. Incredible.
Yeah, listen, here's another one. The Zach Brown Band, totally not hard rock metal. It's sad to hear of Malcolm Young's passing. He was the heart, soul, and velvet hammer of AC/DC. There's a good word for it, the velvet hammer. I hadn't heard that before. Have I missed that in the... Brett Michaels has said that AC/DC has always been one of my favorite bands, and Malcolm Young will be missed. It goes, again, Bernie Marsden. Here we are. Now we're talking. Bernie Marsden, of course, of Whitesnake fame. So sad to hear of the passing of Malcolm Young. I have so many fond memories of him from my days on the roads with AC/DC. I have always found him interesting and good company. He was the heart and engine of that great AC/DC show. My condolences to his family and AC/DC fans.
Amazing.
Wow, now that is classy. That is classy. Not that the other ones weren't classy, but that was classy, of course.
A lot of love.
And then that's, you expect that from Bernie Marsden, because speaking about class, there's a guy with a ton of class, Mr. Marsden.
So
there you go.
And then getting back to the albums, excuse me. Then of course we're at Black Ice, right? And the last one, which was Rock or Bust. I mean, what are your thoughts comparing Black Ice to Rock or Bust, which I don't know where I actually put it. Oh, here it is. Rock or Bust, which I found was not bad. The album was not bad. And again, I'd have to research this. I don't know how much of Malcolm is in this album. I think they were jamming it out with Malcolm, but I don't think he actually recorded on this album. Whereas Black Ice, of course, he did. And we already spoke about this. But Rock or Bust, their last album, what are your thoughts on that?
Boy, that one's good, but to me, Black Ice was the better of the two.
Yeah.
If you're looking at late era AC/DC, I think Rock or Bust was definitely better. And I think also when Rock or Bust, not Rock or Bust, what I'm saying, Black Ice. I'm confused in my own thoughts. When Black Ice came out, there was a genuine excitement because, here's AC/DC and there's going to be a big tour and stuff. I don't think we got the same kind of excitement or anticipation with Rock or Bust, and listen, it is the first one to not have the founding member, to not have Malcolm.
Yeah.
So I think there was a little bit of a letdown there,
Yeah.
an épuisement, if you want, of the AC/DC brand. But listen, it's a solid album. I mean, they really don't have any albums that are totally
Yeah. Yeah.
throwaways.
Yeah.
But I just think that the excitement and the press releasing and the whole entourage of Black Ice was a bigger deal and
Yeah.
just a better album.
And two albums that we missed was Ballbreaker, which I found it was a so-so. It's not so great. A couple of the song itself, Ballbreaker, was good. A couple of cool tracks overall, but it was never, it was never a Back in Black or a Dirty Deeds. Another album that we really forgot, and probably I don't have it right in front of me right now. I mean, it's somewhere in my house again. Maybe it's in my car. Let There Be Rock, a monumental album. Let There Be Rock. Just your thoughts on Let There Be Rock.
Let There Be Rock. I mean, it's got a whole lot of Rosie on it.
Exactly.
I mean, what else do you want?
Well, I mean, even the song "Let There Be Rock" and "Bad Boy Boogie" to it's just the sound, the rawness, the power, the electricity. Once again, those young kids, just playing rock and roll, and they really worked the band. They did it old school. They played the shows and they played the shows and they just kept playing and playing and playing, and they won over the critics. They won over the fans. They went from an opening band to a headlining band to a stadium band. They are your blue collar band. That model of working it until you get it right.
Yeah, and you could essentially throw out all the other songs on that album and just put, side A, Whole Lot of Rosie, and side B, Whole Lot of Rosie, and it still would be one of the greatest albums ever.
Yeah.
And of course, Problem Child.
Yeah, which was also on Dirty Deeds as well. I mean,
yeah.
Which was a different version. I mean, Dirty Deeds came out in North America with, tracks from the first two albums in Australia. So there was a really big mix-up here. It was,
I guess that's the funny thing about those albums. You look at any band in history, Kiss, Metallica, and internationally, all the songs except for maybe a bonus track is different. AC/DC albums were sort of chopped and parsed and put here, which is kind of bizarre. But because you get Problem Child on these two different albums, you get a bunch of other songs on two different albums, and you go, huh, okay. But hey, it all worked out. It all worked out.
Well, that's, I think we pretty much covered everything. We just spoke about the albums, read, the emails and the tweets and the posts from the artists and from the fans. And if you have a couple of more, I'll just read a couple more here too. Guy says, Butthead always had an AC/DC t-shirt. I don't even know. Oh, that's it. Butthead always had an AC/DC t-shirt on in Beavis and Butthead, which is a good one. That's true. Alfonso, Malcolm, gracias por tu música, por aporte parte a mi vida, paz en tu tumba. I don't even know what I said, but I don't speak Spanish, but I thought I'd just read it anyways for all you Spanish-speaking people. Not My Chicken says, I play multiple songs they made on drums. I don't know what that means. Ronitz says, rest in peace, Malcolm. My first AC/DC album was Let There Be Rock. The band is probably over. Somebody says, Malcolm's on the highway to hell. Then again, who isn't? Okay, it's pretty cute. And Florence says, I don't know if Black and Black sold too. I don't know what that means. Okay, so there are your final thoughts. Some closing thoughts here.
Closing thoughts.
Yes, we're getting tired.
Totally tired, and I'm trying to find other. Oh, here, Damon Johnson of Black Star Riders, one of my favorite bands. Your inspiration for me is beyond words. Thank you, Mal. Right on, indeed, mate. There you go, from the Black Star Riders. Listen, it's. My final thoughts are somewhat depressing in a sense that we've gotten to that age where our heroes are going to pass away one after the other, and it's the end of an era, and it's it's hard to take. Malcolm, if you look at him, he's only 15 years older than me, and
Yeah,
to think that I might only
I
have
know.
15 years is
It's all we got
crushing.
left, man. It's all we got
Yeah,
left. We're the same
I,
age. It's all
I
we got
know. I
left.
don't. I don't want 15 years. I want another 50 for crying out loud. And yeah, it's another era of rock, and unfortunately, as 2017 becomes 2018, more of the people that we love and that have defined us in terms of at least musical,
Yeah.
uh, our musical identity, are going to start shedding, and I can't take
Have you
it.
hit 50 yet?
No, not yet. It's coming. It's
Me too.
staring me at
Me
the
too.
face. It's in August of 2018, but it's staring at me, and
You're
it's
you're
giving me the stink eye for crying out
you're
loud.
1 month younger than I am. So
Yeah,
there we go.
and
I'm in
and
July. I turned
it's
50. So
yeah, and it's
you know.
staring at us, right? You got that stink eye going. Yeah, coming up, mother. You know,
Yeah,
but
ACDC. This show was brought to you by ACDC, and I guess the future for ACDC, we shall see what will happen. I'm sure Angus, he's 60 years old or about 60 years old, and I guess he's got some good music left in him. And let's see, and Axel's a great singer, and I mean, I don't
Axel's a
know.
fantastic
I mean,
singer.
he's a fantastic singer, and let's see what the future holds. Again, November 18th, the unfortunate passing of Malcolm Young, co-founder and guitarist of ACDC, and I would say the leader of ACDC, at least from all the books that I've read on ACDC. Sad to say,
Yeah.
Mitch, thanks for joining me. I think we've kind of exhausted this whole topic. Thank you, everybody, for writing your
We've
comments.
exhausted ourselves too, quite frankly.
That's right.
I'm starting to get a little punch drunk at this point.
Getting hungry too. A little bit of
Yeah,
lunch maybe.
yeah.
Thanks to everybody who wrote. I mean, the stuff are still coming in. People are watching, and hey, leave your comments, everyone. Tell us your favorite album, your favorite memory at a concert, your favorite song of ACDC, your thoughts about Malcolm Young. Just leave them in the comment section. Thanks, Mitch. You can catch Mitch on Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon on the Jericho Network.
Yes, part of Podcast One. You can check that out on the web, or just get the Podcast One app. It's the best way to do it.
It's always funny because Mitch is like,
You know?
actually, we live in the same city.
Yeah, we
And
do.
here we are Skyping.
Well, listen,
But we
that's
live
our
on
lot.
opposite ends of the city. That's the difference.
Yeah, but let's be real about this. I sit in the living room with my wife and
That's
kids,
right.
and we text each other. So, you know,
There you
it's
go.
it's the modern world.
That's
We
right.
we have gotten to that place where it's just a lot easier to shoot off a text to your daughter who's sitting 2 seats down from you on the
That's right.
couch
Honey,
than to
can you
say,
pick up some milk?
yeah, exactly.
All right, man. That's
Uh,
it. I think we're going to let everyone go now.
well, and I'll requote Eddie Van Halen, who started off his
Sure.
message with, "It's a sad day in rock and roll," and yeah, that's right. That is Eddie's summed it up right there perfectly. It is a sad day in rock and roll.
And
But thank you for your rock and roll, Malcolm. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for all the great music. And you know what? His legacy will live on, the music that he wrote, generations and generations. When we're long gone and dead, the music will live on forever. All right. All right, man. Thanks for
Yep.
joining us. Thanks, everybody, for watching The Metal Voice. We'll catch you all next time, man.